Mishna 6. Yeshua ben Prachia v'nita harabeli kiblu mechem. So again, this is the word kabel, next generation. Yeshua ben Prachia, Omer, he says, Ose l'charav, ukne l'chachaver, v'chave dana kol adam l'chafskut. Okay, here's how you deal with people. People who are above you, people who are equal to you, people who are below you. Ose l'charav. You need to make for yourself a teacher. Ose l'charav. Now all three of these things are going to matter. So we're going to start with rav. So what's a rav? So rav comes from the word much. Right? But a rav is a person that I can talk to and ask questions of and get answers from. A rav is a person who's willing to look at me and say, Witkin, you are wasting your life. You are messing up. A person who's willing to boss me around. We said he's not a guru. He's not going to think for me. But you need to have a person who's looking over your life, who's not involved in the thing, who has a broader perspective, who can ask you whether the way you spent the last 6 months and plan on spending the next 6 months is really a proper use of your life. Whether your approach to kids, to business, to work, to life, to davening, is it right or not? Right? It's very, very difficult if you don't have someone to bounce ideas off of. You have to look for a person who has a hashkafa, who has a philosophical construct and point of view and approach to life that you understand and that you appreciate, right? It says, Osei l'chol rav. Only you can make a rav for yourself. Nobody can impose themselves as your rav. The fact that it happens to be the rabbi in your neighborhood or the rabbi of your shul does not make them your rav. Right? The fact that they happen to run the school your kids go to does not make them your rav. What you need to do is figure out, you maybe have to interview them. You may have to shop around a little bit. Right? But you have to figure, who are you as a person? And what are you trying to accomplish? And what do you believe in? And what's your approach to life? And who out there do you trust that they have seichel and judgment and kindness and intelligence and wisdom, right? And enough, strength and cojones to slap you around when you need it. Because you're not looking for a yes man. A rav is a person who has the ability and the opportunity and the strength and the willingness to say, straighten up and fly right. Here's where you're messing up. Rabbi Myers, who's coming to visit in a couple of weeks, was the first Rav I ever had. The most brutally honest guy I've ever met, who ripped me out of one world and into another. Because he brooked no games. Right? We've all learned with him. No gimmickry, no nonsense. You need to have a Rav. So it's Osei l'chol Rav. Second piece is it's l'cha. This is probably, I think, in some ways, the hardest thing for most people to understand about the nature of a Rav. L'cha, it's for you. That means two things. One, who gets the benefit of you having a Rav? It's you. Right? I'm doing this for myself. I have to recognize that I'm not doing it because it's required or someone else is bothering. I need a Rav. I want my life to run properly. I'm doing it for me. It's the best thing I can do for me. What do you do for yourself? You get yourself a Rav, a mentor, an advisor, a grown-up, right? A coach. But you see all life coaches and mentors and business mentors. It's a Rav. L'cha, but the hardest part for people to get is that it's for you, not for anybody else. Most people say, how often do you hear, my Rav says you can't do that, you can't do that. Right? People who I want you to do it my way. If my Rav says that's how it has to be done, that's how it has to be done. My Rav is for me. The answers that he's going to give you might be different. The answers that someone else's Rav is going to give them are going to be different. Osei l'chol Rav is you have to be willing to say that what I've learned is for me. Otherwise you get into this construct where anyone who does more than me is a fanatic and anyone who does less than me is a heretic. Because my Rav says here's how it's supposed to be. So no, it's also the Osei l'chol Rav. When I make a Rav, I'm making it for myself. Right? I want him to give me guidance. And it's not that I don't care about you, but I recognize that what's good for you might be different. And your Rav might give you a different approach. And I was thrilled to see one of our old friends whose kids grew up and got married, and when he came back to visit the States, he had a photo of all of his kids in it. And one is, has become a chassid of some sort, and one is an Ateres Kohanim guy, and one is totally modern, and one is, every single kid, they're all within, the bounds of Torah, they're all following a Torah approach, but they all have found a different approach to Torah life that works for them. Right? And he said they get along wonderfully. None of them says you have to do it my way. They all say, here's the path that works for me, within the bounds of Torah. But it's also, and the last is aseh. You have to do something, but you make it. You cannot just decide someone's your Rav. You have to make him your Rav. Ask him questions, right? Let him know that you're listening. You want him to give you advice. Let him know you want him to stop you when he thinks that you're wasting, you're making a mistake. It's a proactive construction of a person who has the right to slap me around and give me advice and tell me what's what. And I recognize that it's for my own benefit and it's not about you. I'm going to make a Rav for myself. I'm not going to go through life without somebody, because otherwise you're just drifting. The next is ukne l'cha chaver. You have to buy for yourself a friend. How do you get a friend? It says a friend is purchased. Right? Not necessarily with money, but a friend is not about what you can do for me. It's that I want to do for you. I see you, and I see good in you, and I want good for your life, and I want shleimus for your life, and I'm going to give to you. And if you need help, I'll help you. And if you need time, I'll help you. Whatever you need, I will try to pour myself into you. Right? Your ultimate friend is your wife. But you should have, it helps to have another friend or two. But a chaver is a person whose job, again, is to sit next to you, not as an authority figure, but a person who your heart is connected to. And he's connected to you. And he wants nothing but good from you. He is not interested in the relationship for what he gets from you. You're not interested in the relationship for what you get from him. But if you hang out with a person because he's going to give you Dodger tickets, that's not called a friend. Right? If you hang out with a person because he's a great drinking buddy and he's a lot of fun, that is not a friend. If you're into it for what you're getting out of it, the whole it's all about me, that's not a friend. A friend is, I want your life wholesome. Right? The fact that guys will come out and learn with me so I can do this, that's a friend. You're doing something that's good for me. Part of it's good for you, but I'm sure there's a good chunk of it is you're doing it because you want to do good for me. Right? That's a friend. You have to buy a friend. You need to invest and put time and energy and money and life. Right? You want a guy to be your friend? Ochev, give to him. If you pick the right person and you pour yourself into them, they'll pour themselves back into you. That's a chaver. So how do you deal with people? First, you need a mentor, a teacher, a Rav. Second, you need a chaver, a close companion. Again, who'll slap you around a little bit. Who'll help keep you on the derech, keep you on the path. And the last is chaver dan kol adam l'chafschut. That you have to be judging of all people to the side of merit. Now again, it uses the word chavei, this to be verb. It doesn't just say judge. It says be judging. Meaning it's a constant state. Without looking down, how many people have an opinion of the carpet that you're standing on? For the most part, the answer is no, because you don't care. It's meaningless to you. But for most people, they don't care. It means nothing to them. What does it mean if you won't judge something? You don't judge things that mean nothing to you. They're below your notice. They're irrelevant. It's pointless. I got no interest in it. There's no reason to judge it. What do you judge? Judging means I look at you and try to understand you and come to a conclusion about you, which means you're important to me. You are not allowed to look at human beings and dismiss them as meaningless. It's chavei dan. I have to judge you. I'm supposed to look at you and see, because you are not background noise. You're not a tree, right? You're not a squirrel. You are a human being, right? You're a person in my life. I have to look at you and judge you. Judging you means try to understand you. Try to come to some sort of conclusion as to who you are or what you're about. Right? Because then I understand how to interact with you and how to react to you and how to move forward. It may be that I'm just judging you on your driving skill, But he says, chavei dan. You should be in a constant state that when you meet people, you're trying to understand them. And it says, l'chafschut, to the side of merit. That I'm looking for the good in you. I'm not always looking for what's bad. I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. However it's going to be, I'm looking for where you're good. And it's kol ha'adam, the whole person. I'm not just looking at the one little sliver of where you bother me. Right? As often as not, the guy who does something to annoy you, you define their whole existence around that aspect that annoys you. Your neighbor who's loud, you reduce his life to, that's the loud neighbor. You're selfish, the selfish person, his whole life is reduced to this meme of he's a selfish person. There's a lot more to them. He's the pushy guy. He's the loud guy. It's not what it's about. He's a human being. Kol ha'adam. You got to try to look at a broader scope. So here's how you deal with people. You have to find a teacher, a rav, a mentor. You have to find a friend and invest in them. Pour yourself into them. And every person that you meet, you need to judge. But you judge favorably. That your job is to look at people and find good in them and see good in them. Right? That's what we'll see later when it says Ochev HaBriot. Right? Love created people. Ochev means to see good in them and take pleasure in it. Now we're going to take it even past this. We're going to say, how are you supposed to deal with people? Find good in them and take pleasure in it. You can't just ignore them. I got to look at you and find something that's good about you. And then what's worse is I have to have an emotional response to it. I have to take pleasure in the goodness that you have. That's our Mishna.